Okay, now we're talking about titrations here. Now what a titration is it's a neutralization reaction where you find the concentration of an unknown acid or base. So we want to find out the concentration of whatever fluid this is in here. You're going to have a known volume of this unknown solution. We're going to know exactly how many milliliters we put into here. And we're going to convert those into liters later. But what you do is you put an indicator into the solution. Here is a list of various indicators, and what they do is they'll start off in a certain color. The one that we're going to be using in class is going to be phenolphthalein down here, and it starts off colorless. So what you do is you add about 1 to 2 drops of one of these indicators, and depending on what pH range you're looking for, that'll change what indicator you want to use. But we're going to be using phenolphthalein, and what happens is when it neutralizes, you'll get this really cool fuchsia color. Okay, so we're going to have our phenolphthalein in here with our acid, and we're going to know exactly how much we have. We just don't know the concentration M. Oh, by the way, concentration is how many moles there are in a liter of that substance. And up top, you're going to have the opposite base. And the base, what is in here, well, by the way, this is called a burette. You're going to have a base that you know the exact concentration of that base, and it's going to go into the burette. And what you do is you release this nozzle a little bit and let a stream go into your acid. And what will happen is eventually this will go down and down and down and down, and you'll see the color change just a little bit. And then you swirl it and the color goes away, but eventually you're going to come to a point where you add 1 drop and you think it almost completely turns, but then the color goes away again. But at some point you will figure out, oh, say that's 25 milliliters of that base that you put in. Now how this works, how you actually know the concentration, what you do is you use this formula. You use concentration times volume equals concentration times volume. This works when you have a strong acid or a strong base. So what we have here, like if this is your base on the left side, of our titrant, we know the concentration of our base. Once we hit the equivalence point, once we're adding more and more base, neutralizing it, changing the pH. Once we get to this point, the indicator will change the color of the acid down here, so we'll know the volume of the base side that we delivered to the acid. And on the right side, we're trying to get the concentration of the acid, and we actually measured the volume initially. So once we get these measurements done, we will be able to solve for the concentration of the unknown acid. Alright, so here's a sample problem. What we're going to do is we're going to determine the concentration of nitric acid if 30 milliliters of 0.1 molar sodium hydroxide is required to neutralize 15 milliliters of the nitric acid. Okay, so here's our equation. We got molarity times volume equals molarity times volume. So what we do is we just set it up where we have the initial concentration. I'm going to do sodium hydroxide on the left. We have 0.1 molar sodium hydroxide times 30 milliliters. Now we have to get this into liters, or both of these into liters. So what you do is you start off with 30 milliliters, and we set it up like this, where we have 1,000 milliliters over 1 liter. And what you get is you get 0.03 liters, like so. So the volume here is 0.03, and we're going to set that equal to the concentration of the acid that we don't know times, I'm going to do this in the same method, I'm just going to move it over the same value, 0.015 liters. Okay, so we have M1V1 equals M2 times V2. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply these two together. When you multiply those two together, when you multiply by 0.1, you're just moving it over. one more value, like so, equals the concentration still times 0.015. And then what you do is you divide it on both sides. Well, this is a concentration times a volume, so you're going to take 0.015, divide that on both sides. Okay, and when you divide that out, you're going to end up getting 0.2 for your concentration of your nitric acid here. So that is something that we would do with the titration.